Welcome. Tonight, we will drift back through the centuries to a city once called the jewel of the world, city of domes and golden mosaics, a city where merchants, priests, and emperors cross paths beneath soaring marble arches. This city is Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire. On the surface, it glittered with wealth and holiness, for it claimed to be the new Rome and the seat of Christendom. But beneath its shining exterior lay a harder, grittier reality, one of endless toil, suspicion, and fragile survival. In this journey, we will step into that world. We will walk its harbors and markets. We will listen to the whispers of emperors and courtiers. We will climb into the great domed churches where mystery still lingers. And finally, we will sit at a banquet table, surrounded by luxury and unease. All of this told slowly, gently, and with the calm rhythm of the past. So settle in, breathe deeply, and allow yourself to drift. The city waits. Imagine yourself at dawn on the shores of the Bosphorus. The sea is calm, but the air is heavy with the mingled scents of brine, damp wood, and fish left too long in wicker baskets. You're not a noble, nor a priest, nor even a skilled artisan. You're a dock worker, one of many, whose lives revolve around the steady rhythm of loading and unloading, lifting and straining day after day. Your body is lean, not from training, but from labor and a meager diet. A rough wool tunic hangs on your shoulders. Your sandals are worn thin. You rise before the sun, because the ships do not wait, and neither do the men who pay your wages. The docks of Constantinople stretch long and crowded, filled with wooden hulls that creak against the tide. Some ships come from the Black Sea, bringing grain, salted fish, and timber. Others arrive from Egypt, their holds packed with wheat to feed the city's immense population. Still others are Byzantine warships, lean and purposeful, smelling faintly of pitch and tar. Your work is simple but endless. Ropes bite into your palms as you drag crates up wooden ramps. The air grows thick with shouting orders in Greek Armenian. Sassam, Latin. The language of the sea is mixed, for Constantinople is a crossroads of the world. You hear gulls cry overhead, competing with the slap of water against stone. There is little safety. A slip on the slick planks means injury, perhaps worse. And there are no doctors for men like you. If you fall, the work continues without pause. There are always more men willing to earn a coin. The pay is small, a few coppers a day, enough for coarse bread, a bit of dried fish, perhaps a measure of watered wine. If you are fortunate, you find a place to sleep in a crowded tenement, its air heavy with smoke from cooking fires and the dampness of too many bodies in too small a space. But the city does not care for your comfort. The city hungers. Grain must move. Olive oil must be carried. A forey of wine must be hauled to the markets. And you are the unseen hands that keep the empire fed. The work is unending, but there are rhythms. The call of bells from distant churches marking hours. The swell of midday heat, when the sun glares off the water and your skin prickles with sweat. The slow cooling of evening when shadows lengthen across the stone piers. Disease is common here. So many men, so many ships, and so much filth gathering in the shallows. Fevers rise easily. A cough lingers. The smell of stagnant water clings to your clothes. And yet, there is little choice but to keep working. And there is always the shadow of uncertainty. Riots can spark from the smallest spark in this city. Insult at the races, attacks too heavy, a religious quarrel. When unrest brews, the docks are the first to feel it. Soldiers patrol, crowds gather, work halts. And in the chaos, men like you disappear, swept away in the tide of history. Still, each morning you return, because without your labor, there is nothing, because the empire, for all its grandeur, rests on backs like yours. The life of a Byzantine dock worker was not glamorous, it was not honored, but it was essential. A quiet, grinding struggle, repeated endlessly, forming the hidden heartbeat of Constantinople's greatness. From the bustle of the docks, let us lift our gaze, slowly, toward the palace that rises above the city walls. There, beyond marble courtyards and guarded gates, lived an emperor whose name still lingers in the long corridors of history. Justinian. He was not born into power. His beginnings were modest, the son of a peasant family from the Balkans. As a young man, he was brought to Constantinople by his uncle, Justin, a soldier who would rise almost by accident to the imperial throne. In those early days, Justinian was not yet robed in purple. He was simply another face in the crowd of the city, another voice among the thousands who filled its streets. But he studied, he watched. Slowly he positioned himself for something greater. Imagine him now, in his younger years. He walks through the same markets you would have passed as a dock worker, smells the same roasted onions, the same sharp tang of fish. Yet unlike you, he carries ambitions that stretch across the empire. His eyes see not only the present, but also the possibility of rebuilding Rome itself. In time, his uncle Justin named him heir. And so, with the death of one man, Justinian ascended to the throne. But Justinian's story cannot be told without Theodora. She was not born to nobility either. Her childhood was shadowed by hardship. Her father was a bearkeeper in the city's great hippodrome, that roaring arena where thousands gathered to watch chariot races. When he died, her family slipped into poverty. Theodora, still only a girl, found herself pulled into the harsh world of performance acting. Entertaining and surviving on the fringes of society. It was not the upbringing of an empress. And yet, in the shifting fortunes of Constantinople, paths could twist in unexpected ways. She met Justinian, and against the protest of many in the elite, he married her.
Oh.
To some, it was scandalous. To Justinian, it was necessary. For Theodora was not only his companion, but his equal in strength of will, and often in sharpness of mind. Together, they ruled. The reign of Justinian was vast in ambition. He sought to restore the empire's former glory, stretching armies into Italy, into North Africa. Reclaiming territories once lost to Rome, he poured wealth into the construction of new monuments, the greatest of which was Hagia Sophia, a church whose soaring dome still defies time. But for all the grandeur, his rule was never secure. Taxes pressed heavily on the people. Riots erupted in the streets, most famously the Nika riots, when thousands filled the hippodrome, furious at corruption and oppression. The city teetered on the edge of collapse. Justinian, shaken, considered fleeing. It was Theodora who stood firm. Her words, calm and sharp, persuaded him to remain. She is said to have declared that the imperial purple was a noble shroud, meaning that to die a ruler was preferable to living in exile. Her courage steeled his resolve, and together they crushed the rebellion, though at a terrible cost in lives. Even greater trials followed. The empire was struck by plague a shadow that swept through Constantinople with merciless force. The disease carried away thousands, leaving streets quiet except for the sound of bells tolling in mourning. Even Justinian himself fell ill, though he survived. Theodora, ever present, guided affairs when he could not. In time, her own life was cut short. Illness took her while she was still young, and Justinian was left to rule alone. He continued his work, but those who knew him whispered that without her, he seemed less certain, less alive. And so the story of Justinian and Theodora is not only the tale of power and ambition, but of companionship. From humble beginnings, they rose higher than most could imagine. They built, they ruled, they endured. And yet, like all who came before and all who followed, they were still bound by the same frailties, loss, and time itself. The empire carried on, but their presence lingered in its stones, in its laws, and in the soaring domes they left behind. From the struggles of emperors and riots in the streets, let us walk now, slowly and quietly, into a space of stillness. You find yourself standing before the Hagia Sophia, the great church that Justinian built after the city's destruction. Its name means holy wisdom, and for more than 1,000 years, it stood as the largest church in the world. Imagine approaching its vast walls. The stone is pale, with streaks of age. Outer buttresses rise like shoulders, steadying the immense weight within. You pass through heavy bronze doors. The sound of the city fades, and a new atmosphere envelops you, cool, shadowed, and faintly echoing with footsteps. As your eyes adjust, you begin to see what makes this place so extraordinary. Above you, the dome seems to float. It is vast, wider than anything you have seen before, and yet it does not seem to rest on solid ground. Instead, it hovers, suspended by light. 40 windows ring its base, allowing shafts of sun to stream inward. In the shifting hours of day, the dome glows, sometimes soft gold, sometimes pale silver. The effect is unearthly, as though the dome itself is not stone but a vision. How was it built? That question puzzled even those who witnessed its creation. The architects Anthemius of Tralles and Isidore of Miletus were men of genius, trained in mathematics and engineering. They designed supports and half-domes that cradled the structure, distributing its immense weight in ways both daring and precise. Still, the first dome collapsed, shaken by an earthquake. It was rebuilt, stronger and higher, its curve altered, its balance perfected, and so it endures. Step further inside and you notice the walls shimmering with mosaics. Tiny pieces of glass and gold tesserae catch the faintest light, making figures of saints and angels gleam softly in the half-darkness. The scent of burning incense lingers, sweet and resinous, drifting upward into the dome's heights. Candles flicker, their flames reflected in polished marble floors. For worshippers of the time, entering Hagia Sophia was more than stepping into a building. It was stepping into heaven itself. The Emperor Justinian, upon seeing it completed, is said to have whispered, "Solomon, I have surpassed thee." A bold statement, perhaps, but one that reveals how awestruck even he was by the creation. Over the centuries, Hagia Sophia would witness transformation. It was once the beating heart of Orthodox Christianity. Later, under the Ottomans, it became a mosque, its walls echoing with new prayers, its mosaics veiled but never fully forgotten. But today it still stands, its dome unbroken, a living symbol of endurance. And yet, for all its endurance, the dome continues to provoke questions. How, in an age without modern machinery, could such immensity be achieved? Was it sheer genius, or was it also a matter of chance, of stones settling just so? The truth may never be fully known. That, too, is part of its allure, the sense that we are standing in the presence of something greater than understanding. A mystery balance between heaven and earth. So you stand beneath it now, gazing upward. The dome rises above you, calm and immense. Your eyes trace the circle of windows, the soft flood of light, the golden shimmer that seems endless, and in that moment you feel small, but also comforted. For in the long span of centuries, this dome has outlasted emperors, wars, and earthquakes. And still, it remains quiet, enduring, watching. We leave the cool, echoing silence of Hagia Sophia and return gently to the palace above the city. Here, behind tall walls and gilded gates, life unfolded on very different terms than on the docks or in the crowded tenements. This is the world of the Byzantine elite. Imagine a great hall, lit by tall lamps of bronze. The air is perfumed with spices, cinnamon, cloves, and musk, carried on trade routes from distant lands. Marble floors gleam beneath woven carpets. On the walls hang silken draperies, colored deep red and blue, embroidered with golden threads. You are seated at a long table. Surface is heavy with silver platters and golden goblets. The meal begins not with bread and onions, as in the homes of dock workers, but with delicacies, olives soaked in herbs, almonds glazed with honey, pomegranates split open to reveal their crimson jewels. The courses arrive slowly in ritual order. Fish from the Bosphorus, roasted gently and seasoned with pepper imported from India. Tender lamb stewed with garlic and saffron. Rich pastries layered with nuts and sweetened with syrup. And, to wash it down, wine diluted with water, poured from vessels decorated with scenes of hunts and victories. At the table sit courtiers, generals, and priests. Their robes shimmer with embroidery. Jewels glint in candlelight, amethysts, emeralds, sapphires, set into rings and pendants. Their voices murmur in Greek, low and measured, exchanging news of campaigns, of treaties, of shifting alliances. But beneath the calm surface lies tension. For in Byzantium, power was rarely secure. Even here among luxury there was fear. The emperor himself dined under the watchful gaze of guards, always wary of betrayal. Music drifts softly through the chamber. A lyre, its strings plucked in slow rhythm. Perhaps a flute, its notes rising like a gentle breeze. The melodies are meant to soothe, to entertain, but also to remind the guests of refinement and culture, hallmarks of Byzantine prestige. Servants move silently, refilling goblets, clearing dishes, carrying trays laden with yet more delicacies. They are almost invisible, their labor unacknowledged, though without them the banquet would collapse. The contrast between their quiet, constant movement and the seated ease of the elite is striking. It reminds us once again how divided this society could be, how one man's feast was another man's burden. As the evening progresses, conversation turns toward philosophy, theology, and the endless disputes that define the empire's intellectual life. Guests debate the nature of Christ or the meaning of ancient texts. These discussions are polite on the surface, but each word can carry danger. A wrong opinion might be remembered. A whispered doubt could one day be used as accusation. So even here, in a hall of gold and silk, the air is never entirely free of unease. When the banquet ends, guests rise slowly. They bow to the emperor, to the empress, and then make their way into the night. Some return to villas of marble and gardens fragrant with roses. Others walk through quiet courtyards, accompanied by guards in attendance. And beyond the palace walls, the city continues, dock workers unloading ships, priests chanting evening prayers, families huddling in small rooms. The banquet fades into memory like the music, like the flicker of lamps. A moment of splendor set against the backdrop of struggle that defined the empire. And so our journey through Byzantium draws to a close. We have walked the crowded docks, where rough hands carried the weight of the empire. We have stood beside an emperor and his empress, watching their rise and their struggles. We have gazed upward at the great dome of Hagia Sophia, a mystery of stone and light. And we have taken our place at a banquet table where luxury mingled with unease. Through each step, we have seen how the Byzantine Empire was built on contrasts, hardship and grandeur, faith and suspicion, glory and fragility, to glitter of gold and the toil of countless unseen lives. As you rest now, reflect on how distant it all is, and yet how familiar. The rhythms of labor and ambition, of mystery and faith, of power and fear, these have echoed through all of human history. But tonight, they are only stories, whispers carried from long ago. You lie not on cold stone, but in the comfort of your own bed. You need not rise at dawn to haul crates from a ship. You need not fear riots in the streets or suspicion in the courts. The empire has fallen, its domes remain, but its burdens are no longer yours. So let the sounds of Constantinople fade into silence. The shouts of dock workers, the whispers of courtiers, the tolling of bells all drifting away into quiet. Only the steady rhythm of your breath remains, calm and unhurried. Rest now. The city sleeps, and so should you.